Hello, welcome back to the Math Mastery Series, Navigating Success at Oakland Community College. My name is Julie Gunkelman, and I'm going to be talking to you about the book that I read, How to Teach Your Students to Learn and How to Teach Yourself to Learn. I read both of them by Sandra Yancey McGuire with Stephanie McGuire. Today's video is going to be talking about previewing and preparing for active reading. These were two of the 10 things that McGuire talked about in her book. I want to remind you from the intro that many of us, including myself, have thought that we had to learn math this way, right? That the teacher does, we all do it as a class together, and then you have to do it on your own. But remember, this is always going to fail, and we need to do something differently so that this doesn't happen. McGuire concentrates a lot on Bloom's taxonomy, and in particular, we want to pay attention to the top. So I have got this version of Bloom's kind of inverted, and we want to think about creating, evaluating, and analyzing. And in this video, we're going to talk a lot about organizing. So kind of organizing your brain so that things are going to stick in there a little bit better. And that's what previewing is all about. So think about this, right? Like if you are trying to talk about some unknown, right? And you don't have context. A lot of you probably have played the game Wordle. I made one up that I want to share with you. And this one, I tried the word night. Now, when I play Wordle, it's a little bit different than my husband. I just try any word, right? Like he's got a set, and a lot of people are like this, right? They got a set strategy that they use so they can cover as many letters as possible. And I just kind of randomly pick a word. And I'm like, okay, night, obviously at the N and the T are probably quite common. I got a little vowel in there. None of these are working, right? So if you've never played Wordle before, the reason why all my letters are grayed out is because none of them are in the puzzle. If they were in the puzzle, then it would be yellow. And if it was in the correct place, it would show green, right? So I try another word. I try the word cloud. And I can see that C is a letter in the word, but nothing else worked out. So I try another word, and I tried break. And so now I know I've got 3 letters, right, of my puzzle. I know that I have an A, a C, and a K. And so my brain started to think, hey, if I know that K is in the right spot, right, I'm going to go ACK at the end. So then you start to think about, hey, what words can we possibly try? I could try stack, but that's not going to work because of the T, right? Black is not going to work. 2 of those letters are not working, but your brain is thinking, hey, all these things rhyme together. What other possibilities do I could have here? And you get a whole bunch of them that just don't work, right? But, they do have these Wordle hints online, right? And so what if I told you, like if we don't know what word this is, and maybe you've thought of it by now, I don't know. I had a hard time. But let's say that you don't know, but you get a hint, right? And the hint is percussive impact that resonates loudly. And you're like, oh my gosh, it's smack, right? Like you totally get it. So basically what this previewing does is it's providing that context, right? So you wouldn't struggle with the puzzle as much looking at all these different possibilities if you knew this hint, right? And so think of previewing as just doing that for you, giving you that little context that's going to help your brain sort out these things. Now you want to do this in somewhat of a deliberate way. You're going to be skimming the work. Now, my students last semester did not particularly like skimming the book. They were nervous about it. So I'm going to show you 2 ways to do this. If your instructor gives notes, like I give notes, you can skim the notes, and that can give you a clue as well. So I'm going to give you an example from my college algebra class. These notes are from my class. The lesson is on the transformation of functions. And my first page here, I've got some graphs written down, right? So you might be thinking, hey, we're going to take the functions that we already know, like y equals x squared, y equals x to the third, an absolute value of x, and somehow transform them. We can tell that from the title of the section, right? And what you might be asking yourself, and this is the second part that I want to pay attention to about the preparing for active reading, is giving yourself a question or more than one question that's going to help drive that lesson for you. It gives your brain a reason to read it, right? So you might be thinking, hey, how are we going to transform these functions? What might that look like? Okay, looking at the next page, I have got some horizontal shifts, it looks like. I'm also going to have some vertical shifts. And you might be saying, which form of the function is going to give me a horizontal shift or a vertical shift? You can see at the bottom here, I've got two like generic functions, y is equal to f of x plus d and y is equal to f of x plus c. So you might be wondering, hey, which one is going to do which? Which one's going to make it go, right to left, and which one's going to make it be going up and down? That's a good question. The next page, I've got some reflections, right? It's saying that we're going to be looking at reflections. And so you might be wondering, what are we reflecting over? Like, is there a specific line? Maybe it's the axis. And which form of the function gives a specific reflection? So you can see again from my examples 2 and 3, I have a negative on the outside of the function, and I also have one in the argument of the function. So that's probably going to be a difference for us as we look at these. The last one, or the last idea that I have here in my notes, is this idea of a vertical stretch or shrink, and also a horizontal stretch or shrink. And the example dribbles to the next page, right? So you'd be wondering, like, which form of the function is going to result in a horizontal shrink, which one is going to do the vertical, right? So which one is going to be which again? So if you think about this, we really have 5 things that we want to pay attention to when we either, go to lecture or we watch a video lecture on this topic. And it all has to do with the transformation of functions, right? We talked about horizontal shift, vertical shifts, reflections, horizontal stretching and shrinking, and vertical stretching and shrinking. Okay, you're thinking, hey, Gunk, what if my teacher doesn't give me these notes? What do I do then? You go to the book, right? We're going to use the textbook. And so I'll put the link in the description below. This is an OER book, so Open Educational Resource, and it is based on the same content that I just showed you from my notes. And so there are more pages here, and there's obviously a lot more words, because when I'm giving my notes for class, I'm going to have a lot more verbal, right? I don't have to write everything down, because you're going to be able to interact with me or watch my video and then come ask me questions later, right? So I don't have as many words. If you're looking at a textbook, there's going to be way more words. But look for some key things, right? We have the learning objectives right at the top of the page. And this is going to outline everything for you. Now, I said that I had 5 things that I was concentrating on. This book puts the vertical and horizontal shifts together in that first bullet. They talk about the reflections together like I did. And then they talk about the vertical and horizontal scaling. So that was my stretching and shrinking. They just have different terminology, no big deal. But look at that last bullet. It says graph a function using a combination of transformations. So you might be thinking, hey, Gunkelman, you didn't talk about that. So hang tight. I'm going to answer that question in the next video for you. So I'll deal with that then. So be sure to come back and watch the next one. Okay, so you start to read this. You don't want to read every single word. This, I think, is why my students got overwhelmed this semester when they tried to read the book, is because they tried to really fill in all the details and try to understand everything right away. You're only looking for what are those big buckets that you want to fill in the information, right? What are those categories? What are we going to be trying to do? Just kind of like that hint that I gave you on the Wordle, right? It kind of gives you context. It gives you an idea about what you're going to be looking for. So you're just going to skim this. You're going to look at the examples. You're going to say, oh, look, hey, it looks like this graph went up a little bit, right? Again, a lot more words. Always when there's a box, it's a good idea, right? Because that's going to tell you kind of what's going on. So they're like, hey, we're going to talk about a vertical shift. And this kind of gives you a little clue that when you're looking at a vertical shift, you're going to change the outside or the output of your function, right? They have some tables in here of ordered pairs, which is probably a good idea to look at when you're going back to fill in the information, but not when you're skimming. You can see that this graph moved here a little bit, and it also looks like it reflected. And we can talk about that vertical reflection there in that box, right? It looks like we have a little bit of a stretch here, right, on that graph. And again, you're like, oh, that's a lot to read, Gunk. Oh, keep going, right? You can see, oh, we have a little bit of a reflection situation here as well. And oh, look, we have a box again in the book. They always have the box. I don't care who wrote the book. The math people were always going to have a box in there that's going to kind of summarize everything for you. So that is good stuff to kind of pay attention to. So again, you don't need to think about the details. Just think about, oh, I'm going to have this vertical scalings, right? Remember, I said that was stretching and shrinking, but vertical scalings, it's the same thing. So you look a little bit more into it and you can say, oh yeah, this kind of stretched out a little bit, right? And obviously they're going to give us some information about that and oh, this guy is shifting to two units, right? So I'm going to have some horizontal shifts here, and they've got that in that box there for you. Again, they do some ordered pairs. You've got another one. It looks like we do have a little bit of a reflection here. And yes, we're going to get that box as well, right? So you don't have to read every single word. You can see we have a little squish here in those graphs, right? A little bit of a squish. And again, you can see a reflection here. But don't get too bogged down in the details. I know I'm going really fast. I'm going to put the description a link to the book in the description below if you really want to pick it apart a little bit more. But look at this combination of transformations. Okay, that was the last bullet point on my list, right? So you know that we're getting kind of close to the end of the road here, and they do talk about combinations of these transformations, and then they talk about it as a summary table as well. They have a few more examples. And again, these are worked out examples. So you're just kind of skimming. You're trying to see what's going on in these examples. Don't spend too much time on it. Don't try to put your pencil on the paper and try to actually figure it out quite yet, right? So in summary, right, now you've got 6 things for this one. I'm gonna write it down as. It's very similar to my notes, right? For this transformation of functions, you're talking about horizontal shift, vertical shifts, reflections, horizontal stretching and shrinking, and vertical stretching and shrinking. Remember, they called it scaling, right? And then combination of transformations. So one more thing, right? One more thing. So as you are preparing for active reading, remember, you're trying to ask yourself those questions about, hey, what might this be about? How are the functions going to change? And so what you want to think about is what you'll be able to answer when you're done with reading or the lesson. So either reading the textbook for real, right, which you can do, and you'll be able to get the information from, going to lecture, or watching a video lecture. So I wrote down some things here as examples. I said, what change to the function causes a specific transformation of the graph, right? Is it a horizontal shift, vertical shift, reflection, horizontal stretching and shrinking, or vertical stretching and shrinking? Remember, I stuck with the 5 things, right? And then my next question will take care of the combinations, right? So I said, can more than one transformation be applied to the same function? And if so, does the order of the transformations matter? That's a pretty good question. And if you think about these things, your questions might be different than mine, but it's going to motivate you to do the lesson. Remember, all these things that we're working on are to try to help you take things from your short-term memory and put them into your long-term memory. So this previewing and this thinking about a question that's going to drive your motivation or your reason for going to lecture or reading the lesson is going to help you encode this into your long-term memory. We are also going to practice the retrieval process, but that's going to be coming in a later video. Remember that I have some orientation sessions coming up. You can meet Mrs. Gunkelman, that's me, your math coach here at OCC. If you are watching this and it is still the winter of 24 semester, I am looking at some orientation sessions. These are at the beginning. I will have a recording though for you. You can sign up if you can't make one of these sessions. If you are in Math 1150, 1540, 1560, 1580, or 1730, you can come to one of these sessions either Thursday, January 11th at 7 p.m. or Friday, January 12th at 1 p.m. Please use your OCC email address to register, and you can use the bit.ly that I have here, bit.ly/meetgunk to register, or you can use the QR code on the screen. I also have some math coaching appointments available for you. Again, it's if you're in the same 5 classes at OCC, we call them these gateway classes. So winter 24 OCC students in Math 1150, 1540, 1560, 1580, and 1730. You can meet me in person or on Zoom. I can help you work through like what you're struggling with, not in terms of the math, but in terms of how you're learning the math. Please use your OCC email address when you register for an appointment with me, and you can do that by going to calendly.com/jgunk or use the QR code on the screen. Thank you for joining me today for the Math Mastery Series, Navigating Success at Oakland Community College.